Many people in the U.S. complain about politics, but are not taking steps necessary to change. And any citizen over the age of 18 has the right to vote. It is important to vote for many reasons, including the fact that your vote counts. People have fought for the right to vote, and voting shapes the government and also our future. Any election can be decided by a single vote, and it is important to be informed in order to make the best possible decision. In the 2012 presidential election, only 50% of young voters casted their ballot, and that includes people from age 18 all the way up to 29. In the 2016 presidential election, only 58% of all eligible voters participated in the presidential election when Donald Trump was admitted to office. As we have seen and will continue to see, history can be changed by a single vote. Yet, some people still do not believe that their vote counts. A perfect example of this, or when it did count, was in the year 2000 presidential election between George W. Bush and Al Gore, where Bush received 47.9% of the votes and Gore received 48.4% of the votes, leaving them with a differential of 543,000 votes, which may seem like a big number, but in a country of 300 million people, it's not really that much. And of course, if there was a higher participation in voting, theoretically up to 100%, and at the same rate, of course, the differential would have been bigger, and most likely Al Gore, who would have had an even more enormous gap between them, would have most likely been elected president. But because only so many people voted in that election, Al Gore, even though he did win the popular vote that year, because of the electoral college system, President Bush was elected to office. The second reason why it is important to vote is because many people have fought for the right to vote, and it's very important to participate in your country's politics. For example, women's suffrage started in 1848 and didn't end until 1920, and that was just for them fighting for the right to vote because they knew that it was the only way they could achieve political reform, because voting directly impacts the government. Voting is also seen as a mark of equality and gives citizens a sense of true citizenship or patriotism. It is also important that the people feel that they have a voice, and voting gives them that voice that is necessary. Thanks to the 15th and 19th Amendment, both African Americans and women were given the right to vote in elections in the U.S. It gave both groups a greater sense of equality, and was ultimately the most fair way to see how the citizens of the country wanted their government to be ran. In some countries around the world, people are still fighting for the right to vote in certain minority groups, and even in those that are allowed to vote, there is voter intimidation, so that people are scared to cast their ballot. The third reason why it is important to cast your ballot is because it helps shape the government and the very future of the country. It directly impacts how your country is ran, and it helps you get a representative into office that does what is best for the people and what is best for their country. By getting the right official into office, you can indirectly affect foreign economic and social affairs. In the 2014 midterm election, only 36.4% of voters cast their ballot. And this is due to the fact that many people do not think that their vote counts, among other reasons. These other reasons that people give to why they do not vote can include the fact that they are either too busy, or they do not like long lines, or some people are apathetic, where they do not care whether the vote goes one way or another, or they do not like either of the candidates and do not want anyone to get into the office that is running. Well, in the case of where there are, in your eyes, non-worthy candidates, it is a smart choice to vote for the lesser of two evils, because if you do not vote, there's a good chance that the worst possible candidate will get in, and the same can be said for if you vote for a non-primary or non-Republican or Democratic candidate, because 99.99% of the time they do not make it into office anyway, so you're basically, it's the same as not voting at all. As a U.S. citizen, it is seen as your right to vote, but it can also be said that it is your duty and your responsibility to put into office who you see fit. Nobody else can vote for you, and you gotta exercise your right and be American. It's what's important. Thank you for coming. Boop.